Hello, friends, and welcome back to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you for joining me today. We are having a fabulous day. I am doing a marathon couple of days of sewing because next week I will not be here or available from Friday to Sunday or through Sunday. But today we are going to be working on our diamond ice. Now, today I am going to bring you down on my cutting board or cutting mat so you can see how I cut my shapes. Now, I'm doing this only because you have to have the kitty-cornered ruler to do this. And I'm going to show you how to cut these pieces. So one moment, let me get you down on my table. I'm hoping to be able to pull you over my shoulder so you can see how I cut these. And that way you'll know how I do it. Okay, friends, here you will see that I have my 3 pieces. This is my fabric H. This is the one that we are going to be making the Unit A. So our Unit A is going to be this line right here. So let me show you how I line up and cut. Now, friends, I am doing this from the side. I cannot see what you are seeing. What it is, I'm taking a square here. I'm folding it diagonally. And I'm pressing it down. And I'm lining that edge on my A. Now, I try to get the tip of it as close as I can as possible. And I just cut that. So now you see, like I said, I'm doing this at an angle. So this makes what we call the kite shape. Now, the next step, we are going to cut Unit B from F and G. F is my dark blue. I have 2 pieces right here. I have them lined up together. And then we are going to see, here is Unit B. Now, it tells you here, align left edge of rectangle. So, left edge of rectangle. We have this even right there. So, we're going to cut it like this. Now, your F's, both of these need to be face up. So, and you notice I kind of cut there in the beginning because it overhangs right there just a little bit. So, I've got my 2 F's. Now, this one here, what we are doing is we're making 4 of these. So, once that left edge is there, you will see I need to clip my corner here. So this is step 3. And this cuts 2 of them. And we'll use these 2 and make 2 more. So I have that V right there to align, and not that edge. Not that corner, guys. Not that corner. I don't know what I'm thinking. I do this every time and it takes me a minute to remember. Is this corner. So we're clipping that edge off there. So we have 2. And then we're going to do the other 2 out of this piece right here. We've got to line that up and trim that corner off. Friends, it is the Thursday before Easter. And I tell you, Easter is in full-fledged at this house. Now we have our G, which mine is white. So this does not matter which side it is. They're both the same. Face up, face down. But if you're using something that is not the same on both sides, you will want to make sure that they're face down. G should be face down. So make sure if that's what you need, that you have both of them face down. So what I'm going to do is take my ruler here, and we are going to be cutting B's out of this one as well. I'm lining up right there because the ruler actually tells you align left edge of rectangle, and it shows this area and this area. So I go back and then I go forward. So now we have our 2 G's. So I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. I don't know how centered you are on this, but I'm lining this up right here, trimming that edge off, getting it out of the way. Here's our G, and here is our other G. Whoops, I didn't get that one good, did I? So this is actually all the cutting that we need to do with these colors here. So one moment and I'll have you back upright. So friends, now we're going to start sewing. Let me show you once again. This is called the Kitty Cornered Ruler. It is by Creative Grids. I can put that away now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our kite pieces. We have 4 of everything because a square has 4 corners to it. I'm just opening these up, and let's see what we start doing. We take one of our H pieces, which is our unit B, and we take an F. So we're F to H. So this is our F, our dark blue. And for our dark blue, we are going to be taking this corner and this one, and we're going to be putting it on the right side. And I will pin, friends. I just feel better pinning everything because I like all of this to stay lined up real well so my blocks come out good. Okay, so here I have my piece pinned. And I am going to start sewing it up here at 1/4 inch. Okay, so we are going to do that with all 4. I'm making sure. Yes, we're doing that with all 4. Now, I hope you guys are having a beautiful week. Our weather is starting to turn today. We have some pretty high winds today, but so far nothing. I do see west of us, you know, there's some storms a brewing, friends. Storms a brewing. So I hope everyone is safe that has those storms in their area. I know they say we're supposed to get something like Friday through Saturday. I'm not real sure. I'm not too worried about it. I know that's going to kind of put a damper on all the little Easter egg hunts that's going on around here on Saturday. But that's not going to muddle, you know, the reason for the season for us. We will likely be doing for Easter a sunrise service, and you know, just then the day with the family, which we always enjoy doing. I know my daughter, since her and her fiance bought the house, they really enjoy having family over. I'm so proud, you know, of what they've been able to do. You know, at such a young age, I didn't buy my first house until I was over 30. Now, I mean, I had rented a lot, and my children's dad and I, we lived in his grandmother's house, you know, so we didn't have to buy a house. So I'm really proud of my children for being able to do this, you know, earlier than I was. Okay, so we've got all 4 of those. I am going to cut these apart and then press them. You are to press them to the F fabric, and our F fabric is our dark blue, so I will be right back. I now have all the F's pressed on there, so now what we need to do is take our G's and put them on the blocks as well, the same exact way. And I will do the same thing. I will pin going all the way down. Now, how I'm going to have to do this is from the back side. That way I can sew from top to bottom instead of bottom to top, because that top is where we definitely need it to meet to keep that alignment. Now, I know that we will be trimming this block down, and it may trim some of that off, which is perfectly fine. But why not try to do the best you can do during sewing and not have to rely on that? Some things I do rely on it really heavily. But friends, I'm not able to give you a lot of cutting instructions on these because most everything I'm doing right now is a paid for pattern. And if there is something that you have questions on cutting or how to cut, and Sharon, this is I'm kind of answering your comment. I did answer it, but if there's something in particular that you are having trouble with knowing how to cut, like a particular pattern, let me know. Shoot it to me in an email, and I will see if I can't figure a way to do it without giving away the pattern or, you know, measurements or things. I mean, I can give measurements if I'm not referencing the pattern, you know, but I can do the video strictly for you if that's how you need it. Sometimes I tell you, I get so confused on some cutting things that I'll have to go in and watch videos over and over again to see exactly what it's talking about. And I do not mind doing that for you. Just let me know if there's a particular, you know, let me know in email, not in comments, in email. Let me know the pattern and which cuttings you're needing that don't make sense. I understand it completely. Some cuttings do not make sense. Now, I know it's not going to be on Tammy's pattern because Tammy does a very detailed video on how to cut her fabrics. So I know hers is very, very detailed because I have to watch hers too sometimes. Because sometimes my aging brain does not catch it the first time. But thankfully, you know, she gives a clue for her Reflections Mystery Quilt. She gives a clue and does the video for us, you know, for the cutting and then how to put it together. I think this past clue was just half square triangles. But make sure to send me an email if there's some. I do not mind doing a video on it. But like I said, I can't reference the pattern or anything about it because I can't do that. I can't give somebody's information away, but I do not mind helping one bit, making a video for a step that doesn't make sense or a cutting clue that doesn't make sense. Now, I've heard people, you know, they talk about cutting things on the bias and all that. And I know that makes a difference on how a pattern comes out. But when cutting the fabrics, whatever, like this here, let me say this one right here, I'm just going to just throw a number out. This is not a number that is in this pattern, but they tell you, say, cut 5 inches by width of fabric. And then they say, we'll subcut that to these cuts. So you take that 5 inch by width of fabric, and then say they want you to have a 5 by 6.5 rectangle. Well, so they tell you the 5 by 6.5 rectangle. Now, a lot of times I know patterns do not tell you that 5 by width of fabric. Sometimes that would be helpful. Sometimes they tell you they want a 4 by 5.5 rectangle. Well, if you cut it 4 inches by width of fabric or 5 inches by width of fabric, those are going to make that cut different. Because your fabric is going to stretch one way and not the other. I get confused on those as well. And I think when they do those patterns like that don't tell you that is very confusing, because I've always seen the pieces that they say cut them into, like 4.5 to a 5.5. They may actually mean it needs to be 5.5 by width of fabric, and then you cut a 4.5 piece because that's going to have a different stretch. So I know how those can be confusing. And I just went around the world on that, didn't I? That's okay. But I understand completely what you're saying about, you wish you could see some of the cutting. Most everything I do right now, I cannot show the cutting because, it's a paid for pattern. So 1 minute, I will get these are the G's, I believe. I will get these pressed, and they press to the G, and then we will go the next step. And friends, we are back with our squared piece here. You do have to do a double trim when you do this on the kitty cornered ruler. The first one you do with your fabric like this, you line up a little upside down V in that point, and you trim, and there's a square to make sure you're getting it centered, and you do this side, and then you flip it, and there's a little square. Well, you put the square down here on this corner, and you line these up on whatever measurement, and you trim this side and this side. But we have 4 of these now. So our next step, it says draw a diagonal line, and y'all know I don't draw diagonals anymore on our F squares. And let's see how we're sewing on that. It says sew directly on the drawn line. That's good. So we're going to align the F and the J. This is my J here. So we are going to put that F in the top right corner, and we are going to sew a diagonal from the top left, bottom right. Get myself on that piece there. And we're going to do this to all 4 of them. And once we get these 4 made, we will trim this square at 1/4 inch and press it out. So let me just make sure that we're on the up and up. I'm reading my instructions right here, friends. It says draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of each F square. Align a F square on the fabric J square, right sides together, so directly on the drawn line. Trim a 1/4 inch past stitching, press to the F. So I've still got 2 of these squares left. I think, yeah, I was supposed to have that 4. I only have 2 of this one though. So what I'm going to do is trim it, press it, and be right back. Okay, friends, I've got those pressed. Our next step is we are going to take these fabrics here, and we are going to put our G, our white, across it. Now, what we are going to do now is sew a 1/4 inch from that center line. So I've moved my light over to the 1/4 of an inch to the left. So that way, what's going to happen, I'm going to line up the point. Now, this is going to be hard to do this because my fabric is way longer than my light goes or my table goes. So I probably would do good drawing the diagonal, but we're going to see how this works. I've got to sew on both sides of that diagonal line. And I think we do this to both of them. So I'm doing it to both of them. I hope we do, because I'm doing it. Because I don't want to have to move my light or anything again. So I just line everything up. And it shows from top left to bottom right. So what we're going to do now is just flip these around and do it on the other side. I think it's doing okay. I'm not real sure, because y'all know that outer edge of my foot is the 1/4 inch mark. So that's how I have to do the top of the fabric. I have to put that point on the outer edge of the foot mark. There we go. So let me cut and press, and I'll be right back. And friends, we are back with our 4 half square triangles. There is a pattern correction needed. They might have had this last night in their Party in Your PJs Facebook Live at 6 p.m. I was with my grandbaby. I missed it. On step 6, they tell you to draw a diagonal on each fabric F a certain measurement square. Well, I did that. And then they said align a fabric fabric F certain square on fabric J, certain size square. It said right sides together. So directly on the drawn line, trim a 1/4 past stitching, press to fabric F. They do not tell you, you know, I did mine on all my fabrics. They didn't tell me it should all been on one fabric. It is a square in a square. This is our centerpiece of the block. I did do it on my other fabrics, which meant I had to undo those, recut. Yes, because I'd already cut into them. So I went on and got these fabrics cut, sewn together. Y'all already seen me sew this together. But in that step 6, that is a square and a square. So I have written on my pattern and adjusted it and trimmed and the whole 9. I have it all ready for us to start assembling our square. Now, the first piece we are going to use, I can cut that light out, don't need it anymore. And friends, if y'all want one of these lights, I've been telling everybody about these lights because I am loving it. Loving it. I always have a link down in the description of everything I use. If you're interested in just checking it out, seeing what it is, look in the description. There's always a link. We will take this square, and then we will take one of our fans here. I call them fans. I like them. We're going to attach it like this, so it's going to go on top of that one. Now, I am not going to start sewing at the top here because I have multiple seams coming together there, but I will be sewing it from the other end. But I do want to go on and pin that in. Just so we make sure, and friends, make sure to trim all of your blocks. Because if you don't, your square may not come out, your final, trim all your squares because your block may not come out. I always say that backwards, don't I, friend? I always say it backwards. So we're going to do the first 2 squares on each row, and then what we will do is do the 3rd piece. That's always how I piece my blocks. If they have rows, I always do the first 2 pieces, and then I do the 3rd piece, and then I put the 3 rows together. So our 2nd row is one of our fans. It's with the white on the outer side. Then we have our square and a square. Yeah, I love these fabrics. I love these blues. I absolutely love how everything is turning out. Now, we do have a seam right there, kind of in the center. I just put a pin in that seam to make sure it stays together. I love how these blues have just come together. I love a blue and white quilt. Probably because the quilt my grandmother made me is mainly blue. And I have that actually sitting in my bedroom on a cedar chest. So now our last row has our half square triangle, and we have another fan, and it is going, yes, in that direction there. You always have to make sure you're positioning correctly with these fans, because one time, y'all, I put them upside down, and it looked like it was wrong. It looked wrong. You know, sometimes you could get away without fixing them, and they'll be okay. But sometimes you just have to fix it all. Make sure it's right. I really did not think I was going to be able to get this done today for you guys. It's actually probably going to be a little late, because it is probably after 1 right now. And if I want to have a video up, I have to have it completely recorded by noon for me to do the editing and all the things to it afterwards to get it uploaded. So now for the 3rd piece of our first row, another half square triangle. What it is, we have these blue pieces pointing to the outside, the top and bottom. Now that one only has that one seam. We're going to see if we can get it to take that one seam. Sometimes even those one seams are a little difficult to get through, especially if they're on the top. But if they're on the bottom, that just seems to grab it a whole lot better. And I do have my dual foot control down. It's just sometimes they just don't do right. Do like the others, So this one here, the white has to be on the outside. So when putting these together, you really have to pay attention, because if you don't, it may be all wrong. And we don't want that. We don't like all wrong. We like all right. Now, perfect? Absolutely not. Not perfect. We don't strive for perfection. We just strive for completion. Now, I will have to press these in order to make my seams nest. So, friends, stay with me. I will be right back. Okay, friends, so now we are ready to start piecing this together, or assembling our full block. So, I always pin on the seams. I make sure when I press that it does nest. Those two seams do nest. Now, not only do I have the individual blocks that need to nest, or squares that need to nest, I have this center right here that needs to, it's not going to nest, but it needs to come together correctly. Because if it doesn't, then we have a problem, because it's not going to look good. So we're going to get this one on under here. Let me give myself a little extra thread there. I give myself that little extra thread to kind of help guide it there, which I just needed it. Get everything lined up real good. This is going to be a beautiful block. I see the picture of what it's supposed to look like, or what it looks like in the fabrics that they used, but not what I used. And I mean, I'm not going to say my fabrics are prettier than theirs, but because I am kind of, a little partial to it, I am a little biased here. But friends, thank you all for giving me suggestions on places to check out when I go on my retreat in September to Tammy's. But friends, I have been having things pop up on, the book face, giving me other adventures to check out. I have found one that is definitely on my list. I actually wrote it down. So everybody that's been giving me comments, if I have not commented on or replied to your comment, the reason I have not yet, if you told me a place to check out, now there's some that I haven't been able to comment on, but it doesn't have a comment about a location, but it's because I have a notebook and I need to pull that out so I can write the suggestions. I knew some people were only going to be able to do it in a comment, which is okay. It's easier for me if it's in an email, because I can see an email a lot easier. Because once I respond to your comment, it goes away. I can't see it anymore unless I dig into the post, and sometimes I don't remember what post it was under, because I get comments on daily, on posts that were 6 months ago. So I try to keep up with, you know, all my comments. But I think I may have to add a day to my travel coming back, like to Little Rock. I've taken 2 weeks total off, and the retreat I think is from a Wednesday to a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. It's Wednesday to Sunday. Well, I'm going to probably head out driving Sunday evening. Headed up there because there's things I want to see in states I've never been to, so I definitely want to see things there. So, friends, this is, let me see if this block has a name. It just says April. This is our Diamond Ice block April, or April block. That turned out very pretty. I love that. Love, love, love that. So, friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I said I wasn't going to do a video every day, but being that I'm off for an extended weekend for the Easter holiday, I am marathon sewing, and it is Thursday. You're getting this Thursday, so I'm not ahead by any means right now. But please give me a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do. Feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, friends.